So what is interesting about the event that we're doing today, this first Investing Afterward, is that we're going to listen to the clock a lot of time. This is an old house and there are old noises. Okay, so the idea we got is that, wow, it would be super cool to not just do the lecture, because this is just unidirectional, but having a talk with you about any topic that we're going to present today. So as you can see in the living room, we have a little space with sofas. So what we're going to do is, all these questions that I cannot answer here because of time, we're going to then, Joan and I, move to the living room so you can just join us with a cocktail and keep going with the conversation. Okay? So, Joan, let's start with the big question of today, because right now in the market, I think there are two main questions that every investor in the stock market is doing right now. The first one I would say is, what is going on with artificial intelligence? Everybody is talking about that, and what is going on with the companies that are bringing artificial intelligence to us. And the second question is, okay, I buy index funds. What is going on with SP 500 right now? Because I'm seeing all-time highs all the time. People tell me that it's a bad moment, that the United States is increasing in debt. So what is exactly going on with this index?
We're going to try to give you answers to those questions.
Okay, so
more information.
So first of all, obviously, this is not a financial advisement. Anything that we say here is not a financial recommendation. We need to understand your situation for advising something. Okay, so if you see that right now any company is cheap, please don't just go straight and buy it, because this is not our advice. So just to do a fast elevator pitch so you can understand from which background you come. Okay, so in my case, I come from engineering. I'm more like a statistician. Okay, so I'm an aerospace engineer that became learned in finance. So what I do is an investment fund that is called systematic value investing. That what we do is a top-down approach. So instead of buying index funds, we want to build concentrated funds using our algorithm in order to pick 40 companies of the SP 500. Okay, so the idea is looking for the correlation, but concentrated in what we think with our algorithms that has good quality at good price at this point, and being rotating all the time. So in my case, I come from this background. We're going to send you also the presentation after the event. Okay, and the type of companies that we buy, but we can discuss this later. And on the other hand, we have here Joan. And I like to do talks with Joan because I'm the top-down guy and he's the bottom-up kind of investor, because he has an hedge fund.
So basically, I'm the investment director of a boutique asset management company from here, Barcelona, called Gesinte. And we are specialized on analyzing companies, and buying those companies, they are great opportunities by themselves. So, and this is a hedge fund in which we are able to invest in few companies. So we can have a portfolio of just 8, 10, 6 companies in our portfolio. So we can concentrate, and that's because academically, I'm also a professor of financial economics in the University of Toda here in Barcelona. It's well proven that there is an optimal concentration or optimal diversification. So if you are too much diversified, you dilute return, you have lower returns. But if you are very concentrated, if you invest everything in one company, you can have a high volatility on your portfolio. So there is an optimal concentration that we can obtain, we can achieve in these funds. Another thing that is different from, I would say, from a big bank is that our interests are aligned. So the founders of Gesinte, which is this asset management company, my own money and the money from the own asset management company, they are invested in our funds. And these funds, we try to make a 360 degrees of alignment of interest, looking for companies in which the managers have also skin in the game, or the founders are big investors in the company, or even some companies where the shareholders are the main investors. Sorry, the employees are the main investors. Basically, we select successful business models, companies that are hidden from the broad investors, and they are trading at low multiples, very special companies that trade at good prices but are protected from the risk of their sectors, and very robust cyclical companies which can give you huge returns at some points. And in 2023, because this fund was launched with this special structure in 2023 last year. We had a success rate of 95%. This means 95% of the investments by amount of money, they had positive returns. And we can go on. And just at the beginning of this year, we were ranked in the hedge fund ranking as the number 5. Okay. And for the other funds of the boutique, basically we were ranked number 7 of the 183 funds of each category for mixed funds, the number 1 in our fund that invests in Asia, and the 39 out of 227 funds for our global fund, which invests in equities of any part of the world. This was the ranking for the 2023, so last year rankings. To give you some framework on what we do, how we are, and we are going to try to give you color that you can talk about your fund.
Yeah, exactly. So just to give
we can continue with it.
Just to give context, because I'm always talking about my own fund, I always forget that, maybe there's people that doesn't know me, no, and I'm going very fast. So basically both of us, what we're trying to do is to beat the market. Okay, what we're saying about beating the market, it's if the American market is doing right now an 8% or 10%, what we want to achieve is with our stock selection, try to get more return than the return that we would get if we were buying an index fund. Okay, but the thing is that both of us, we approach the problem from different perspectives. No? John, for example, he knows about a specific qualitative and quantitative information inside the companies in order to get these opportunities. And because he knows that much about a single stock, he can concentrate over this stock. Because also of the benefits of this concentration. In my case, what I do is I try to beat the market, but inside the market. So what I try to do is, instead of buying everything that is on the market, I just put my algorithms to work, and they are valuing companies every day. So what I try to do is, from the companies that are in the market, just to select a sample of 40 companies. Also, I believe that if we want to beat the market, we cannot buy 500 companies. We would beat the market if we were doing that. So instead of that, we focus on concentration to get this effect. So the idea is that buying quality at good price, maybe it's a better strategy than just buying everything. This is what we are trying to beat year by year. And the main topic, as you can see here, is that is to see the market as these dots that can be qualified by quality and good price. Quality is more or less stable. NVIDIA is a company that has a lot of quality, and it's been like that for a long time. But then price is always just moving around. So my role in the fund is put my algorithms to work in order to guarantee that investors are invested here all the time in this part. But also they don't pay that much of transaction cost, because if I'm rotating all the time, every time you move in the market you pay commissions, and we want to avoid that for investors also. And just to see some of the opportunities, and I'm going to introduce the next topic with one of the cases. You can see that in this kind of investment strategy, we can have companies with a lot of quality that are more or less at value, and also companies with less quality, competitive, but that are very, very cheap at this moment. In our case right now in the fund, the company that is the highest in the position, it's Comfort Systems. Does somebody know this company? So 1 year ago, it would have paid a lot of money to know this company, because what they are doing is basically refrigeration systems. They are a boring company, okay, that they basically work in these industrial buildings for example, meat, for example, industrial processes, and they were well positioned in the AI boom. Because right now, data centers, if you don't know it, they consume a lot of energy, and one of the critical things to cool data centers. Okay, so this company was a boring company that was well positioned and did this profitability. And we bought it like a 5 times earnings or 6 times earnings. It was just crazy. So to sum up, I'm introducing, also here for introducing the topic, let me just show you 2 indicators, because we're going to be talking a lot about equal weight and market weight, okay? So in the market right now, the main index, the SP 500 of the American market, the 500 biggest companies in the market, the index is what we call market weight. Market weight, it means that if you buy right now SP 500 and Apple is the 8%, by size, okay? Apple is going to be training inside the SP500 with an 8% proportion. So if right now, for example, Apple does 100%, 8% of the returns of the index will come from Apple. This is what we talk about equal market weight. On the other hand, when we say equal weight, what we are saying is that if the index, instead of putting companies by their size, instead of that, we just invest equally, we could invest 0.2 on every position of the SP500, no? 500, 100% on the portfolio, 0.2. So, and this is like difference. Normally, historically, it's not a huge difference, but right now, in the last years, we're going to see that it's been a really tremendous difference. In fact, if you just remove top 10 of the SP500, it's catastrophic for the profitability of 2023 and 2024. So, having said that, let's understand what is going on with artificial intelligence.
We will start with the broad framework of artificial intelligence is not a hype. Artificial intelligence is a change, technological change. You all have been using ChatGPT, and you understand that this is here to remain, and it will increase. And we think it's something similar to have a reference to what happened with the introduction of PCs, introduction of servers connected to the PCs, to the internet and to the smartphones. Okay, so all these technological changes allow to increase the productivity, and this is similar to AI. Some history about AI. So AI is very old. We have been hearing about algorithms, right? That they give you answers, but the modern AI, as we are understanding today with ChatGPT, started in 2010 with a company called DeepMind. The first investors in this company were Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, who was his co-founder in PayPal, and Larry Page, which is a co-founder of Google. Okay, these three people, they invested together to fund DeepMind, okay, which was making these complex elaborated systems to generate learning machines. Okay. In 2014, Larry Page bought DeepMind for Google. Okay, and in 2015, Elon Musk, who went out from DeepMind, started to fund OpenAI with Sam Altman. Okay, OpenAI is today's company which is the owner of ChatGPT, and for example, if you are using the image generator DALL-E, is also owned by OpenAI. So basically, it's the leading artificial intelligence company at the moment. This all was happening in 2015. Okay, in 2017 there was a huge qualitative technical change. Okay, there was this technical evolution in which the language of images, language of text, and language of information sources and databases could be transformed. This is why this kind of transforming and tokenization process started, and this is a qualitative change on the whole economics of the industry, in which all this data was transformed into very small pieces called tokens. These tokens could be rearranged through vectors for the big computers to understand it better. To see the qualitative and the importance of this change, prior to that, DeepMind had a very, very successful system that was recognizing cats on photographs. It was using the whole potential of Google, and it was recognizing only 16% of cats in photos with cats. Okay, that was the most. After the transformer and the tokenization, they could identify more than 99%. Okay, but there is an economical effect with this. This tokenization, the use of this transformer technology, which was making it more efficient and more sophisticated, was requiring a lot more computing power. So basically, it required you to have huge databases an amazingly higher computer power. The only company in the world right now that has, let's say, these power units, which are the GPUs, the graphic units that allow to make this huge computational work, is NVIDIA. This is why NVIDIA is one of the 3 most valuable companies in the world right now. They have, in fact, a monopoly. And this process of tokenization made that to continue growing in artificial intelligence is much, much more expensive than before. The minimum amount of money you need to train one of these programs is around 500 million. So any investment in artificial intelligence is about billions. Okay? This made all these companies to look for investors. And Microsoft, for example, went into OpenAI, and the first investment they do was 100 million, so 1,000 million, so 1 billion. And then in 2022, they added 2 billion more. And they are today, Microsoft owns 49% of OpenAI. Okay? Amazon is doing the same kind of investments, and Meta is also doing this kind of investments in-house. So what we can see is that these huge amounts of investments and this huge significant requirement of processing capacity, which we can see from the transformer technology entering how much capacity is needed to train these programs, that the value chain or the group of companies that are working in AI are almost monopolistic in each one of the steps of the value chain. Okay? Because they not only require huge amount of money, they require super technical professionals, and it takes years to get to the level they are. And we can have, for example, in this value chain, we have the companies that design these chips, okay, these processing units. We have NVIDIA or NDI. We have the companies that manufacture the machines that make these chips. We have the companies like Taiwan Semiconductors that they assemble and produce physically these chips. And these chips, they are so complex that the most advanced chips right now are the ones of 7 nanometers. So what is 7 nanometers? 7 nanometers is less than 1/1,000,000th of the thickness of a human hair diameter. Less than 1/1,000,000th of one hair diameter. Okay, so the technology is so strong that can only be done with huge amounts of billions of investment and a lot of years of training. So ASML, which is a Dutch company that makes the machines that produce these chips, it takes more than 2 years to train an advanced engineer to be able to work for them. To see that the scarcity and why this is creating like side pockets of monopolies in each part of the process. And then we have the owners of the data centers, which are Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. Following the chain, these data centers serve the software companies, the companies that generate the AI software. And this software is used by final users, like Microsoft Office or Axon. Axon is one of the examples we want to give you to see that you can see that this application can be used for all kinds of companies to increase the productivity in many fields. As we have seen before, from the creation of the PCs, the smartphones, the productivity and the margins, the profit margins of the companies have been growing a long time. And we are now in the last stage, which includes the improvement in productivity and the increase of profitability of with the digital and artificial intelligence. Okay, so this is a shift that will not only benefit the companies in AI, but will benefit companies in many industries. And one of the examples is Axon. Okay, Axon is a, let's say, a safety company. They are famous because they produce the Taser guns, which are electric guns for the police. And they now are using the artificial intelligence to create cameras that they record, they listen, and they generate reports for policemen automatically. Okay? And you can have this video to have a grasp on these kind of examples of how artificial intelligence will and is being used by companies from many different sectors.
If I'm able to display it.
We were able in the
in the trial.
Okay.
So maybe later, I believe.
Okay.
Don't worry.
So
all right. So the first conclusion of this first part about AI is that we are seeing a productivity boom. No? And the first thing we can start thinking about is the difference with the dot-com bubble. So one of the differences is the investment that is needed in order to compete. No? So it's not exactly the same, no? As we will see. So the next question I have to make is exactly right now what's going on in the stock market with all that, no? With all these artificial intelligence companies.
And what we have seen recently is that we are talking about the Magnificent Seven. I don't know if your Magnificent Seven are basically 7 companies, which are Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, which is Google, Meta, which is Facebook, Tesla, Nvidia,
And somebody?
Amazon,
Microsoft.
Apple. Okay, and Apple.
Microsoft.
So,
Yes,
and Microsoft.
Exactly.
So these 7 companies are called the Magnificent Seven. And because their stock returns have been driving the market, and they have been, and currently the market capitalization, the value of these 7 companies has risen so much that they are bigger than any stock exchange in the world, except the United States. So they are bigger than Germany, bigger than Canada, bigger than the United Kingdom, and you can think on this concept is very increased, right? In Germany we have Porsche, we have BMW, we have Allianz, we have Deutsche Post, we have huge big companies, and the big 7 are much more than all of them, and much more than any other stock exchange. This has also an effect that these companies, they form part of the stock exchange of the United States, and just the 10 biggest companies of these 500 companies of the index, which is the S&P 500, 10 companies of these 500, they are currently around 40% of the index, okay? And this makes an effect that the index goes the direction these companies go. Although the other 490 companies go in an opposite direction, which happened, for example, in June, which had this diversion where the S&P 500 went up during that month, but all the rest of the market was going down. This is the example of how much money was gained in the S&P 500. So most of the money in dollars in market capitalization was gained by Nvidia. The other chip companies, the other 5 companies from the Magnificent Seven except Tesla, and all the other companies were going down. Okay? Okay, again?
Just a small comment here, just to make sense of that. If Nvidia is the 8% of the S&P 500, if you look at over the internet, Nvidia did 160% return this year. Okay? If you do the maths, this is like 10% return. Okay? The 8% of 160% is a 10%. The S&P 500 did an 18% this year. So we would say that 10% of the return just comes from Nvidia performance on the market. And this is the result we are seeing.
And this means, the example we were telling you, so just 2 sectors of all the sectors in the S&P 500, only 2 sectors went up, all the others went down. This is giving you opportunities to buy, even though the index is doing record high numbers, because most of the market, most of the real market, is trading at nice multiples. This is another example of how this is the Magnificent Seven market capitalization, and we are seeing here how vertically they have been growing in the last weeks. Okay?
But this is a correction of 50%, no? 2022.
We will tell you the risks of these companies that they can also fall significantly. And this was basically for the big technological companies, because even technological companies which are medium or small, they have been flat in the last 2 years. So they are not expensive. The small companies, even in the technology sector, they are not expensive. And here there is just a summary that tells you that the multiples of the big companies have risen a lot, and the multiples of the small and medium companies are below historical average. So basically companies are attractive, small companies are attractive, and big companies we are going to see during this lecture whether they are attractive or not. One of the recent events is that this diversion we have seen before has been correcting partially during this month of July. Just last week, the small companies went up 3%, while the big companies and the Nasdaq went down 4% and 2%. So there is being a bit of rebalance because small companies were very cheap, and the Magnificent Seven and the big companies had raised a lot very fast.
So just for the ones that you don't know that, Russell 2000 is not a Formula 1 driver, okay? So this is like an index of small companies. Okay, so imagine that you put the 3,000 companies of the American market or sort. The top 500 is the SP 500 that we said, and the bottom 2,000 is the Russell 2000. And normally these are companies traded at 1 billion, 3 billion, more or less. No? And what we saw this month, and this is, in fact, we just updated like 2 days ago, this slide to include that, is that right now these small companies are awakening. Okay, so we're seeing that the big guys are falling, and right now the small guys are starting to grow. No? So this is a good indicator of the possible rotation of capital from big companies to small companies. So following on that, well, here you can see just the stock price explosion, no, after this AI boom that we're talking about. I just introduced this information just to show that there's a huge debate in valuation of that, because in evaluation, one key metric is what is going to happen for the next 5 years regarding revenues and regarding profit of the companies. Right now, analysts are pretty excited with these companies, and there are reasons for being excited, and these are just examples of, for example, I like this article, okay, of this, I think this is an intern inside McKinsey, that he is saying that in the artificial intelligence could grow in wins into 4.4 trillions, if I translate it from Spanish to English, of dollars per year, 4.4 per year. This is a huge capitalization, no? So mostly the wrong thing with artificial intelligence right now, in my opinion, is to just join the dots and try to extrapolate that this is going to go just high, because also the world has a limit, there's competition, and this is the possible risk that we can see on valuations, just looking at these extrapolations, no, to the future. So let's go back right now to the 2000s bubbles, because maybe it's not an exact case, but we can learn some things from what happened in the dot-com bubble. Okay, so maybe we don't remember because it's very small in a natural graph. Maybe we should see that in a logarithmic graph. But you can see that the Nasdaq 100, this is the non-financial top 100 companies of the Nasdaq exchange. We had to wait until 2013 to recover from the correction of the 2000s. Okay, maybe it's super small, maybe you cannot see that. But this is one of the big risks when we get into these tech bubbles, you know, that the time to recover, if you just put all your money in the top moment of the market, maybe you can stay 13 years just horizontal, okay, without seeing any gains. And one example of that is Cisco. Not that long ago, Cisco was the NVIDIA, the sexy company of the 2000s. And we could see exactly that growth, no? And the big problem with high expectations, no? I think there's a quote of Charlie Munger talking about that Charlie Munger says that the trick to being a good investor and having a good marriage is having low expectations. So something similar to that happens in the stock market. If we are betting on growth of 30-40% per year, just if the company goes at 28%, price is going to just explode. okay, and we are gonna experience a big correction. That's the problem with big expectations. And it happened to Cisco not that long ago. And what happened with Cisco in the internet bubble was that this is the graph of what happened with internet prices. Right now, internet for us is super cheap. For instance, in the 2000s, for uploading a video into YouTube, we had to pay 20K. 20K in order to upload a video to YouTube, and also if you wanted to see it, you had to pay also, okay? So imagine the McKinsey intern in the 2000s just saying, wow, so internet is growing, so people are gonna pay 20K per video, wow. There's a huge market opportunity here, no? But what happened was precisely the opposite. Competition entered, they started a price fight in order to get into market. Prices of internet diminished, and internet was a success or a huge event on productivity, but it was a huge event on productivity for the consumers, not for the companies. The companies just started fighting each other and they didn't get the profit of this productivity. And maybe the risk also in artificial intelligence could come from this side. So next question, what is going on right now in the SP 500? I think we already covered some of the topics. What we are experiencing right now in comparison with the 2000s is, again, we're seeing that the tech companies are gaining protagonism. Also, I put a disclaimer here, the tech sector is a huge sector, and normally there are companies that we don't say they are technological companies, but they are indeed. For instance, if you look at Meta, normally Meta is an information media company. Okay, it's not a tech company technically, if you look at the classification. That's why, because it's a Pandora box, it's better to move to other classification. Again, here you can see the technological concentration just in graph by sectors, no? Finances, for example, are the blue ones. And this is what we were saying about valuation. There's a metric that maybe for the non-financials, let me just translate it to you. We talk about E/E ratio, and this is the relation of the price we're paying in relation with the profit we are generating in the company. To put you an example, if you buy a flat here, maybe, I don't know the rent how it is, maybe we can get like 15K if you buy a flat just in this street. So if the price is 300,000, which I think it's impossible in this part of Barcelona, we would be talking about 20 times the rent that we can generate. This is a multiple, this is a measure that helps us understand how cheap or expensive are things right now, okay? Normally in the market, the average is 16 times profits, okay? Right now we are at 28 times profits. So this, you can see that the average, the historical average is between them, so this is one of the big risks. That right now the index, the SP 500 market weight, it's quite overvalued in comparison with history. This graph, what it shows us is that momentum indicators, like the trend that is right now entering inside the market, the money that is entering the market, is just reaching some highs, very dangerous, like for example similar to the ones at 2000 or the ones at 2008. Another graph that is indicating exactly the same. And this is the split that we were saying before, that the SP 500 market weight, because of the weight of these 7 companies, is just exploding in value for the last years, but the rest of the world is just getting horizontal. And here is where the opportunity lies. Here you can see it also, no? This is a graph from the year 2023. These 7 companies, they did at 70%. The rest of them, the SP 500 did at 19%. But the other companies, if we remove the other 7, they did at 6%. Okay, so this is the important situation of the market. And this is during this year.
This is why we could say there are 2 markets differentiated inside the market. Okay?
Exactly. And regarding concentration, maybe, I don't know if there's somebody here from Switzerland. Switzerland, it's a stock market that is highly concentrated. 10 companies are the 70% of the market. Think about Nestlé, for example, or these companies. But Switzerland is very small. The problem with the United States market is that this concentration is very big and is affecting international indexes. And also is something, okay, that we can see here that it was a predecessor of very dangerous situations, no? Historically, as you can see, the 39, the 64, the 73, the 2000, the 2009, no? Another disclaimer. So in that case, this is what we call short interest. It's basically, I don't know if you saw the film of the Big Short, okay? So as you know, in the market, you can bet that the market is gonna fall, and this is what we call the short interest. Right now, we are at minimum values, so there's very few people that are betting that the market is gonna fall. Also, this is a predecessor of some huge corrections. And just to finish, the idea of these big companies just growing and growing, is it possible that these companies are going to keep growing forever? Well, just common sense will tell you that this is not possible, because you can grow at rates of 40%, but there's going to be a moment that, obviously, the world is not going to follow you in this growth. It's impossible to do that. Big is never beautiful in the stock market, and buying the top companies of the stock market has never been a profitable strategy. And you can see it precisely here. So in different cuts during time, what this graph is showing is what happens if you buy the top 1, the top 2, the top 3 of the S&P 500. So what you can see is underperformance in comparison with the overall market. And also here you can see this underperformance that maybe in the last years we saw an exception to this curve, but history is very stubborn. So we believe that this is going to repeat again as it has been for the last 200 years. Okay, so back to the 2000s. Just to show you, and we can start then the conclusions of what we can do about that, or about everything. This split of market width and equal width, the same pattern we had it on the 2000s. It's not a common pattern. You can see the graphs on the internet, on Yahoo Finance, on whatever platform, but this same effect happened, and you can see that the ones that were investing on equal width, small caps, or more diversified, just fell less than the ones that were investing on the S&P 500 market width. And a long time ago, we had also, we didn't call them the Magnificent Seven, we called them the Super Sevens, but also I want to show you what happened with these 7 companies in the top of 2000, and you remember that here Cisco was the Nvidia of the moment. So well, what happened for the next 5 years was this performance, minus 52% for the next 5 years, and for the next 10 years, we had a minus 36%. Okay, this is the risk of high expectations. Okay, that's why Charlie Munger advises to go for low expectations. So just to get to the practical side, right? So we saw all that, and now the question that you may have is, how can we protect ourselves from expensive S&P 500 and air bubble? No, if we want to keep on the stock market. So I will start with my first advice. There's a book this book has been written in 1848. Okay, so it's The Madness of Crowds. I totally recommend you that, because these bubbles in the stock market is not something recent. Okay, we have had bubbles because people always get obsessed as a collective, as a society, for one specific trend until we get just crazy about that and we move to the next craziness. All right. So this book can help you understand the point of avoiding herd mentality, no? And saying, "Oh, I'm missing the AI trend." No, I think this idea is pretty important. Also, there's this comment about Terry Smith that I think that is also very pertinent. History does not repeat, but it rhymes. So maybe 2000 is not right now the AI boom, but there are some things that we can learn about that, because not that long ago we were talking about competitive advantages of Cisco in a similar environment. It's like I'm doing the contrarian thesis with you. Okay, so the first thing, do we avoid buying stocks right now? No, if you got this idea, you are missing the point. We must buy stocks if we are trying to capitalize our savings for the long term. There's no other vehicle that gives you more profitability. You can see in this book of Jeremy Siegel, that is called Stocks for the Long Run, that basically stocks, excluding inflation, so this is in real terms, they give you around 7% profitability. The problem with the stocks is the short term, but if you go for an horizontal time of 10 years, 15 years, it's practically impossible to lose money in the stock market because of profits. Profits of companies must be shared with stockholders. Also, there's productivity growth, and all these factors make this 7% profitable. Well, in that sense, this is just reminding us that from international indexes, just bear in mind that it's very different to buy international indexes with United States or without United States. In fact, there's a saying that says that emerging market never, or sometimes they don't emerge ever. Okay? So also we need to be cautious about trying to diversify to other jurisdictions, because the United States is right now what we have a precedent of 200 years of having this profitability. And international indexes would be totally different if we remove the United States. In fact, this curve is the global index considering United States and without considering United States. Okay, so we must invest in United States. We are not saying that. Okay, so right now we move to the disclaimer part of the conference, where we are going to talk about the specific investments that we are seeing on the market. Because of allegations, I think we must start with a video, no? And just explain more carefully exactly what is going on.
So, before we already told you that the market, basically, it's a group of two markets, like the big technological companies and all the other companies in the sector. And the smaller companies, they are attractive prices, they are attractively priced, they are below historical average. But what is happening with this big seven? Are they expensive? Are they in a bubble? So we have here in the left the graph of the sales of NVIDIA, the real sales, the real past sales, okay? We see that in 2014, the sales of this company have skyrocketed just because of data centers, okay? And here are the projections on the left of what are expecting the analysts of what will do the sales of this company. So they are going to increase more than 200% in the next 5 years, okay? Is this possible? Is this real? Are these expectations coherent? If we look at the data centers numbers, basically data centers will increase at a rate of 10% per year. But the capacity of each of the data center is going to more than double. So the number of GPUs, processing units, required for each data center will more than double, okay? Something we have to take into account is the market share of NVIDIA in chips for data centers is already 78%. So the NVIDIA cannot grow faster than the whole market. So if we reach the conclusion that the sales of NVIDIA can grow 200% in the next 5 years, then the company is not overvalued, okay? But we have to be careful, because if this is not the case, the company can fall dramatically or will give you a very low return. Some of the ideas of why this can happen, or why this increase in data centers and the use of artificial intelligence, because it will be a broad use. It will be used for many applications and many tasks, from answering questions, sentiment analysis, information extraction, image capturing, object recognition, instruction following. So it can be used in many sectors, in most departments of the companies, and in different actions. And one of the ideas behind these estimations is, let's compare it to have, because we are talking about estimation, something that is unknown, okay? Let's compare it with something in the past that could be similar. And one of the ideas given in the market is, let's look at the applications for smartphones, okay? These are the applications from iPhones since 2008, and we have games and apps on the Apple Store. The applications and the software used for these smartphones have been growing exponentially. Okay? In the beginning, there were very few applications, and they exploded because they were giving you more and more users. So if this happens in artificial intelligence, the demand for processing capacity and the number of applications using artificial intelligence grows exponentially, yes, some of these valuations may not be expensive. Okay? Here we have current valuations of these companies. On the top, we have how many times of the profit of this year we are paying. So NVIDIA, the 60 number means you are paying 60 times 2 years profit. Okay, so it's a very expensive amount. But the implicit growth is, if this company grows its profits 31% every year, at least 5 years, it will give you a nice return. It will not be expensive, okay? And we are having the same with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Apple. They have significant valuations, but if they can grow more, their profits, they can grow more than 20 or 15%, then the return they will give you is acceptable. They are not in a bubble. However, if their growth slows down, this will be severely corrected in price, and these high multiples will lead to decreases in price. And we have the example of the recent 2022, when the growth rate of profits of these big companies slowed down to 10%, 8%, 12%, and in the case of Meta, it went down, even had negative rate of growth in the profits, and the companies, these magnificent seven, went down 50% in 2022. Okay? And Meta went down 80% because they were investing in metaverse, spending a lot, and their profits went down. So their growth rates were not being achieved, and the market punished severally these companies. So this is the risk. If they achieve this growth, the price is acceptable. If they don't, be careful with expectations.
So the question is, where do we invest?
And we have the second part of the market, which are the rest of the market, which are companies trading at very low valuations, with low expectations on their growth, very achievable growth rates on their profitability, and they are very trading at cheap multiples, and they are giving you high returns. On one extreme, we have, for example, CaixaBank, which is very well known. They give you a dividend of 8%. They buy back shares, including the buyback. The total return to the investor is more than 12%, and it's trading only 7 times this year earnings. Next year earnings, this year earnings will be the maximum in history of this company. It's also the same with PayPal, which is growing at 8% its earnings, or Cigna, which is an insurance company in the health segment, which is growing at more than 10%, and it's only trading 15 times its earnings. Okay, so we have also these opportunities in our portfolio.
So right now, you could ask about all the possibilities of different stocks that you would like us to evaluate. So and just before finishing, what I want to present you is a tool that we are developing in systematic value investing in my company. What we're doing is trying to do a software open source, okay, so you can evaluate any company with our software. So if you just enter inside app.svinvesting.com, you're going to be able to, for example, ask these questions. And in fact, I was surprised when I was looking at the stocks that you were presenting. For example, Cigna, we were very close to similar valuations, seeing this growth of 7% inside the software. But if you don't believe that this company is going to be able to do 7%, just move the growth and you will see adjusted evaluation. Okay, so that's the idea. And you can see also other different rules. Also in PayPal, I saw that my software was very optimistic about that. So I see that there's a huge correction in the market, and maybe other day we can talk about the opportunity of investing in PayPal. All right, any fast question that somebody has?
Yes.
Yes.
Talking about opportunities, there was a slide where you were showing the software companies for AI. There was a company called Palantir. Can I ask you, why did you put that company over there?
Because they are one of the companies that are developing the software or AI that can be used. In this case, they're used basically by governmental administrations and security, government security. And basically, these are the companies that are using the data centers to develop their software, which will be used by the final users. Okay, so there are different, let's say, companies that they different parts of the world for the AI to be available to everyone. And the software companies are essential, but all the other parts are also useful.
Also, I believe that Palantir is not that mature as an investment thesis, and there's huge uncertainties around that because I think that they started making revenue like 3 years ago or something like that. So I guess that here what John also is saying is that these are just examples of companies positioned in the market, not an investment thesis that we have right now in mind. No? Okay, yes? Yeah? Yeah.
So first, thank you for all the information. It's very interesting, and I really like the information that you said, the magnificent seven that can lead the market, right? Even all the other companies go down, they go up, all the market going up. So my question is, this list of 7 companies will not be fixed, right? For example, like in the past we had the Yahoo, very powerful, but now they're killed by other, no? Like for example, like Facebook used to be dominant, and now Instagram is more. So what do you think about the trend? Like on this list of 7, Apple, Amazon, any of them could be changed? In your opinion, I know no one knows about future, but
they have certainly different business models. They are from different sectors. They all are there because in this group because they raised value significantly, and all of them are based on technology. So these are the common traits. They are significantly different, and they can evolve differently in the future. Certainly.
But in the future, there can be new company enter this list of 7.
Yes, as Nvidia entered last 2 years ago, and it was just it multiplied its value by 10 in 3 years. So
also, I believe that the history of the stock market is the history of the small guys beating the big guys in productivity. So always there's any disruption. Maybe right now we cannot see it right now, but maybe some companies they are building already the next 7 magnificence of 30 years from now. Or maybe all innovation is just getting inside Google, Microsoft, and they are going to monopolize the market for a few more years. No? We don't know. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll just stand since the chair is very low. So at one point you mentioned that AI is going to increase productivity and it's going to help businesses be better. But then we also made the comment later about how the productivity that we saw during the dot-com boom wasn't really seen in the businesses, it was more seen on the personal level and with individuals. So with the AI, at least, I've worked in the finance sector, I've worked in transportation, I've worked in healthcare, and so far in those industries, I see opportunity, but it's not being implemented, and there's multiple reasons why. Some of it is lack of decision, some of it's security, some of it's lack of understanding, or the cost to put in the guardrails that need to be done. So, with all of that said, what do you think, or where do you think these efficiencies are going to happen in AI? Is it going to be mostly that businesses are going to see these benefits? Is it going to be the individuals, so then the AI companies are going to benefit? Or is it going to be a combination of the two?
From my point of view, it's going to be a combination. And talking with the IT consultancy firms, they are seeing that the budget on IT is keeping, but part of the budget is being deployed from, let's say, traditional IT things to AI. So the more and more the budget for IT is part of this budget, a bigger part of this budget is being developed into AI. So it makes sense that we will see some, with the development of new applications for using this technology, we will see a higher productivity in the companies. And the point is it's so broad. It can be used in human resources, it can be used in automation, it can be used in customer relationship, just making bots that will save you a lot of time chatting with prospective investors, prospective customers. So it will allow you to analyze things much faster, right? So definitely it will have productivity for the companies, and I think also on the personal level we can use it. Most entrepreneurs, for them now it's very easy to set up a website, create their own logo, and do that it could take you 1 week. Now you can do it in 1 morning, right? So it's a clear productivity. You can write everything. Even you can create your own images, right? Depending on the information you can find a lot of information easily. So it definitely will have a productivity in the small, in big and medium companies, and also in for people.
So in my point of view, it depends on in the chain of AI where you are located. No, if you are located in the NVIDIA segment, obviously there's a monopolistic situation that maybe AMD may challenge that. Right now, it's not going to happen in the next years.
It will take some years.
It will take some years for sure. But when I say that AI will provide value to the consumers and companies will not benefit from that, is just let me put you an example. Okay, so let's think about McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King. Okay, so for instance, imagine that we are all very smart and we all use artificial intelligence in order to be more productive. Okay, what is stopping McDonald's to put a burger instead of $6 to $5, $4 if they can automate I don't know, the process how the burger is made in the restaurant? So that's why I believe that they are going to start these price wars in these niches, and all this productivity that it's going to just reporting cheaper burgers for all of us. No, I think that this is going to just destroy the margins for the other companies, and it's going to be a very competitive environment. That's why I see that it's very different in which part of the chain you are.
McDonald's has already, so like maybe 10 years ago more, McDonald's has already done that in looking at automating the way that burgers are cooked and served, and making it more like, what is that, like a machine? You know, like a machine that does it automatically, like a robot that automatically, instead of having people cooking and stuff like that and taking your money, so having it like a vending machine.
Yeah.
So that's already, yeah.
Actually, for me it was like a random example because also talking about creating value, burgers, McDonald's, for me is not the best comparison.
But so that you're aware that that's already something that happens.
All right, so I think we should move to the afterword.
We had a question.
There's
Yes,
one?
yes.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, what could be some triggers that would burst the bubble? Because now it's going increasingly high, but what would actually make it stop and go down? It would be like a news, it would be like a specific report, or what would you consider?
There are different events that can affect. Ones are from the companies themselves, another are external, right? So if we start an economic crisis, or the growth of the economy slows down, that can make some people to get out of the market. If they want to get out of the market, they will take the money from the index. And these companies are the index. So a lot of money will get down, and this can make fall prices. So these are kind of external factors. Internal factors is that the growth is going to slow down. Okay, so the expected growth is not being as fast as expected, and then analysts and people start to extrapolate that this slower growth will mean lower valuations, and they just, for example, if NVIDIA does not grow 50% next year, it may, for the assumptions of the analysts, maybe they think it's not valued at 60 times earnings, but should be valued at 45, which is very high. But this means 30% decrease in price. Okay? So there can be internal, as you said, some of these applications that the companies are developing, it may take more time than expected to give fruit and give you results. So if all that is not showing as expected, the price can fall.
Also, anybody that tells you the day of the crash in the stock market is lying. Okay, nobody knows about that. And in fact, I normally speak with a metaphor of Ashwin Damodaran, that is a professor of valuation in the Columbia University. He talks about us like lemmings in the stock market. I don't know if you know what lemmings are. You can look it over the internet. They are like little rats that are in a video from the 50s. No, they were just running all together, but they didn't know where they were going. Okay, so all of them were just following the trend. And the idea is that we don't know where the cliff is, but when we fall in the cliff, because we're going to fall, because every 6 years there's a black swan that will make us fall over the cliff, the question is, where are you going to be invested? Are you going to be invested in NVIDIA, or are you going to be invested in Figma, CaixaBank, or companies that maybe right now are undervalued? So if the market falls, you're going to fall less than the average investor. So for me, that's the question. Where I'm invested right now, because I don't know where the cliff is, where would I want to be invested if the cliff is tomorrow?